episode 73 of the Ski Instructor Podcast. My name's Dave Burrows and I'm the director of Snow Pro Ski School based here in Valais in Switzerland. Hope you're all well, and I am ever so sorry for the delay in publishing this episode. It's been about a month and a half. I don't know where the time's gone. It's just kind of got away from me, what with the end of the season and various other things that have been going on at this end. But in this episode, I bring you episode 73, which is the part 2 of the Alec and Max Allcock episode, which is going to be a fairly quick intro, and I'll just leave you to get on with the second part of this. I've been busy interviewing people, so I've got a list of at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 podcasts that I've done recently, 7 to come next week, and I hopefully are going to be getting those out in a sort of a more regular schedule. So apologies for that. Been super busy here, just tidying up the end of the ski season. There's a lot of kind of post-season debriefs to do, a lot of plans to put in place for next season, lots of things that we want to do. We've also been busy interviewing for new ski instructors, new people to join our team, which is great. We can have a real talented team for next season, that is for sure. So yeah, all good, but busy, very, very, very busy. And I've also been working my way through a very long list of jobs around the house that needed to be doing that have been put off for the last 7 months of skiing. So life gets in the way sometimes. Received a lovely bit of correspondence in March from Dave Addison. Hi Dave, thanks for writing to me. It says, hi Dave, just a note to say how much I enjoy the podcast. You helped motivate this 50-something skier to come out of retirement and do his CSIA level 3 a couple of years ago. The Steve Hyman interview was great. I for one will be interested in hearing more from people from different systems based in different locations. The different ski cultures and business models around the world are so interesting. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the season. I'm not far from you in Nenda, and it's been a great winter, and I look forward to tuning in and learning more from your interesting range of guests. Best, Dave. Dave, thank you for such a lovely email. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a lovely season in New Zealand, and I'm really, really happy to hear that you got a CSI level 3. It's a super level, and you've done really well there, especially at 50 plus, you say you are. So good on you. Excellent. Without much further ado, I'm going to leave you to the rest of episode with Alex and Max, which will be episode 73, and I'll get cracking quickly with my wide range of varied guests, actually, coming soon, hopefully a more frequent schedule. Wish you all well, and a good post-season if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, and I hope you're getting excited even if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, and I will see you on the next one.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit, Alec, about, because I've seen you skiing a lot more recently in recent years than I have snowboarding around, that's for sure. I've seen you doing a slightly higher level of training with skiing as well. Like, what brought that on? Like, why are you interested in progressing your level of skiing, and what have you noticed about that journey compared to what you already knew about snowboarding? You're a higher level snowboarder going essentially back down a couple of levels in order to work it back up in a different discipline.
So I did it because second discipline for your level 3. So for most snowboarders, you choose to do skiing because, as we talked about earlier, it's going to give you more employment opportunities. A lot of ski schools, especially that I found out in Japan as well, they don't allow instructors in unless they've got like a ski level 1 at least, because
I did not know that. Right.
Because of like that, it's like there's that demand there, and if you don't have it, you're not as employable,
yeah.
Which I kind of found really, really interesting coming from New Zealand. So I did my ski level 1 and really, really enjoyed it. So there was a lot of movements that I learned in skiing. So, you know, such as like, for example, lateral separation as a massive thing to translate into my snowboarding. So I haven't really implemented it until last season in New Zealand, where when I was doing a NZ level 3 snowboard course, that the guy was talking to me about how to get high performance turns on sort of icier terrain that's like red or black runs, and that you would do your toe side like you're going for like a method grab. So as you put your hips forward, your body, your shoulders stays on top of like where your ankles are. So you've got like that lateral separation thing. So he was like saying, oh yeah, it's like you feel a pinch in sort of the side of your love handles, and it feels like you're going for a method grab. And then my retort was, oh, so like lateral separation in skiing? And he went, no, we're not skiers. we're snowboarders. We like to do method grabs. I was like, yeah, but it's the same thing. And we were like, it was a jokey sort of thing, but it was basically that I found that I related something that I learned from skiing into snowboarding. And because I felt it in skiing first, when I went to do the long or the carved turns in snowboarding, I could have the idea of what it should feel like. I should feel balanced. I should feel in control. I should feel stable at managing those forces at a high pressure, at a high speed. So that was like one of the things that I learned. But when I started really, really getting into sort of high level skiing was my first time in Morsey. So doing a ski lesson, doing like ski training with the PDS a lot. Which is now called Perfect Day Skiing because they're not in Port Slay. They said PDS for Port Slay, but a little bit of a tangent. But now they obviously work in Zermatt and stuff. So they've kind of gone like said, oh, we'll call it Pretty or Perfect Day Skiing or something. It's kind of funny.
Lucky they had an acronym that worked for something, a different phrase, right?
Yeah. So I reckon Port Slay would have been is just kept with that, and it works better. So yeah, and then I start learning a lot more stuff in skiing. So, for example, as we talked about that lateral separation, which I then incorporated into snowboarding, there was a lot of things of just more like feel. For example, like this is what I felt on a board, like a short turn. I should feel like a nice grippy turn at the if I do it correctly, like it should be a nice grippy turn. I should have an early edge change. The outcome becomes exactly the same to skiing, and it was like really, really, really good to notice that from the ground off. Like if I'm going down a steep run, and even if it's level 2 shots, for example, like down a nice blue run, early edge change, I felt that when I did it on my skis. If I wasn't gripping the edge early, I noticed it straight away because of that feel that I had on the snowboard previously. Stuff like that. So that was like a really big mind opener. Other stuff like pressure management. So I remember Cam was talking about when we did giant slalom and courses, he was saying as you up unweight your ski, imagine like just throwing your legs out to get a really early edge change. Mm-hmm. And I found that like really, really fun and cool. So I tried it in my snowboarding, which you can't really do to the same effect because you've only got one edge instead of on a ski. You can go 2 edge, feel the outside of pressure of the ski, suck in your weight, and then throw the other ski out. On a snowboard, that doesn't really happen, but you could get the same sort of feeling as I finished my toe side turn. I could unweight myself, throw my weight out on my heel side if it was like a nice sort of groom's run, and I could get a really nice edge change and power through the turn. So stuff like that I found super, super interesting. And
that's my, well, has been for many years, has been my, it's not how you're supposed to do it, I don't think, but that's been my way of doing it because it feels better to me personally. For years and years and years, I've been essentially and I think it comes from motorbiking a bit as well, because if you're about to turn into, let's say you go into a left turn on a motorbike, you don't just turn the wheel left. You actually push away with your left hand in order to use something called counter steering, which only works at about, I think it's about 15 or 18 miles an hour and above. You counter steer because of the centrifugal effect of the wheel. And so in that way, that's also, and what happens is actually that before the bike goes left, the bike has to go right in order for it to go away before it starts to come back in again. And that's how you create lean. It's how you get the bike to go above a certain speed. And a lot of time you're doing it subconsciously because the bike kind of does it itself, but at the same time you can force it and you can tighten a turn off, or you can pick your angle and you can pick your line through a corner using that. And so I do a very similar thing on skis, which is my personal preference, is to let the ski go away from me and then wait for the pressure to build to the point where it then starts to resist the snow, and then I use that to turn. It is not the same thing as what you're told to do as you go through the system, which is at the moment of transition, stand immediately on the outside ski. It's a different way of skinning the same cat to a certain extent, but it's just not the way that I do it. I prefer that feeling of letting the ski go, waiting for the pressure to arrive, and then using that. It's not how you're supposed to do it, but it's the way that I go about the mountain most of the time. And last year I experimented a lot with what you might call pedaling, right? As soon as you've got the transition done, bam, you start standing on the new ski. But I just don't like the feeling of that. Like, it's not as... and the great thing is when you get your badge at the end of the system, you do whatever the hell you want. And so that's kind of what I do. And frankly, it works for me, and that's how I do it. But I did spend a season last year trying to stand essentially early on the new outside ski and using pressure to get the turn going, as opposed to kind of letting the skis go away from me. And I didn't really like it. It just feels a bit like you're on a step machine. It's a bit boring. Yeah. There's no artistry to it, and that's why I don't do it. I probably won't continue with it because it doesn't feel like how I want to ski. You know, I don't want my day's experience on the mountain to be performance or like going on a step machine. You know, it's dull. So, you know, for me, I don't do it. But it's interesting you say that, because it's clearly still being taught that is the thing to do all the way through. And I think it works if you're not thinking beyond I've got to pass the exams, right? Because you've got to play the game to a certain extent to be in the game. But the you know, once you go beyond that, and then you're kind of free to experiment with your own style, and that's what I do. Just out of interest. I'm not telling you that's what you should do. I'm not telling anyone out there that's what you should do. It's just how I do it. That's all.
No, I agree with that. Like, I've tried to do the two ways in skiing of being more controlled and as we say, like, I call it the Basie way, but I mean, I haven't really tried any other associations to know that is, compared to what Cam taught me, because he was like, just throw your skis out and hold for dear life and see what happens, and and it feels nice. You can feel that ski to rebound at the end of the turn, and it really sets you up for the next part, and then you can throw your weight out. But I find that super, super fun. I find carving on skis sometimes a lot more fun than a snowboard, because a snowboard, even though it's super fun, especially when you bend it on a toe edge, when I'm doing it on skis, I can just throw my weight out, knowing that I've got like a little bit more of a sort of safety net on my inside if I do to catch it if I do fuck up. But I can really bend it and like really feel that ski takes time to turn, and I can really utilize the radius.
Does that give you as sort of, say, majority snowboarders, right? Snowboarding is what you got into it for, it's what you love to do. But when you're skiing, does the fact that you have two edges give you any extra reassurance?
Yeah, definitely. Because it's like when you do it on a snowboard, you can be so apprehensive on really getting low and turning, especially if you hit like, a bit of hard packed snow. Whilst as soon as I went on a pair of skis, once I kind of got over that point of I can go fast and I feel in control of my edge, that I just was like, I'll just see how low I can get and see how much I can bend it, and really feel that turn. And you feel so much more pressure out of the turn because I feel way more stable because I've got that second sort of catch on the inside ski. But it's even more of when I started learning and I started knowing that I could bend the ski and influence the shape of the turn, that because the ski radius was longer, it gave me more time to feel the edge change onto the new setup phase or build phase of the turn. And it made me think that, I can actually really work this ski a lot more, and because I've got that time to think about how to work that ski. So when I transitioned it onto a snowboard, obviously time is so much more shorter, but I could then feel it on a snowboard as well. So like knowing when to bend the board at the right points to get a nice grippy or reboundy turn, which I found like really, really, really super interesting. Like being able to utilize that equipment from skiing to then get my snowboarding better.
I think it is one of the things that I think is the most you do, especially if you're on a slightly longer radius ski, you do have more time. I would imagine that the feeling on a short radius snowboard is quite intense, right? Things start happening real quick, and you've got to be spot on with your balance and the management of your pressure. Otherwise, I would imagine that all sorts of weird things start to happen. And quite quickly and quite explosively, I would imagine.
It's like also your mistakes or the bad habits that you acquire in snowboarding is exactly the same in skiing. So, especially when I snowboard, I have this thing that I'll fix and then it will just show up on a harder terrain of leaning onto my my toe edge. I'll rush it so much where I'm then super out of balance when it comes to actually starting to bend the snowboard. It's the same with skiing. I'll rush my start phase of the turn, and then because of that, my body's not now set up in the correct, or should be in the correct position. So when I manage the pressure, I'm obviously not in the right frame. And then my skis shoot off, and I'm like flying down the hill. So I found that the mistakes that I'm making in snowboarding is exactly the same in skiing. Same with like flexing. I'm not like super low enough when I'm dealing with bump terrains. I know on a snowboard that, I'm getting knocked around. Let me get a little bit lower. Let me suck my knees up. Let's use more of my joints more effectively. And then when I did it on skis on some big bumps for the first time, it was a sort of the same issue, which was kind of funny because I didn't really do bumps much on skis. And the first time, James Lockerbie took me down a bumps run, and he went, right, we're gonna go down. We're gonna talk about all these areas of how we steer through the turns and what line we should pick and stuff. And then as I did it, I kind of got better towards the end, but oh my God, I was buckling around because I was just too straight. And then James was like, have you done bumps before? I was like, not really. And he goes, I've just taken you down like this black run with all the bumps. And you didn't tell me? I was like, no, I'll see how it goes. If I die, it's just like shotgun therapy, isn't it? Just see if I just get used to it. And if I survive, I'm kind of doing it right, aren't I? So that's what I found like really interesting, like having that same mistakes are there. What was the other mistake? Probably like leaning on the start of the turn, leaning on my front, on my weight more onto, having it into my shins to have equal flexion of my ankle, my knee, and my hip. Same with snowboarding. Sometimes I don't lean too much. Even though it's a different movement, it still is it's weird because like it's still a mistake because I'm not leaning on my front foot to start the turn on a snowboard, which will be that sort of sideways movement. But then that it's a different movement as I'm not leaning forward on my skis, which is, I find like the weirdest bad habit that I've done, but it's still technically two different movements.
No, well, is it though? Because I mean, yeah, you're right. You're in a sideways plane versus a sort of a front-on plane, but the natural inclination. If you didn't have ski boots on or snowboard boots on, how would you? If you're standing on a slope, like a grassy slope, and let's say there was no snow, you would not be leaning forward in that environment. You're facing down the hill.
Yeah.
So it's a natural. A lot of skiing is counter to what we would do in nature. You know, they're asking you to be. I don't want to use the word forward, but perpendicular to the slope is probably where you want to be, more or less. And that's not a natural place that your body wants to be in. Like it's unusual. It's unusual in both. You know, you probably, even if you were standing sideways on to a mountain, you wouldn't be leaning over the foot that's furthest down the hill. So that's just nature, I think. And that's something that I think we all struggle with when we have our students, right? It's like you've got to persuade them that you want to be balanced over the ball of their foot, essentially. But that's not where their body is telling them, you know, the body's screaming at them, telling them, no, you don't want to do that because you want to be like that because that's how you'd stand on a hill. You know, it's how it is. So I think what you're fighting against there is it's not like an inbuilt mistake. It's instinct. It's instinct that you're trying to override. You're trying to override human instinct in order to get the best out of the equipment that you've strapped yourself into. It's just weird, this sport that we do. It's weird. Everything about it is weird, I think. But whatever. Everything's weird. I don't want to leave you hanging on too much up there, Max, because Alec's been hogging the limelight with his ski chat. But what have you? I know you've been working with friend of the podcast, Phil, at Impulse in the Domes. What have you been up to there? Like, I know he's got so much stuff going on in the Domes. Good for him. But what have you been doing with all of that?
Well, so Phil has just started basically snowboard racing for a lot of his like school associations and like all the school stuff, and it was just his whole idea was just to bring more inclusiveness to it. You know, given the chance for school kids specifically to have a go at snowboarding and to see what it's like in a racing environment, because you don't really think snowboarding and racing together as much. It's a thing, but it's not as big as skiing. It was mainly just because he's had parents and kids and have come up to him and say, "Can we try snowboarding?" Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where it came around. And I chatted to Phil through one of my friends who's currently working with him at the moment, going to Landgraf, just to see if they needed more snowboarders. And while she was away, I can kind of step in and fill those boots. So basically all we were doing over the last couple of weekends specifically was on the Sunday, we set some gates out for skiing and snowboarding and a bit of both. We let these kids have a go and do some training. So lapping them, giving some coaching tips, getting them better in that sense. And then on the Monday, because they weren't at school, it was very much just like, right, let's have a race day, let them have a go, 2 runs, categorize them into like male, female, junior, seniors, all that. And then there was specifically snowboarding was its own thing as well. And then, just pretty much throughout the day, going through the races, going through the categories and letting these kids basically have a go at what it might feel like and what it might be like if they're to do the same professionally, essentially, and letting them have a go at that. You know, we had some really good skiers and snowboarders, and then there were some that were just starting off and really just having an idea and having to go what it feels like to go faster and to really kind of have a different type of technique than they would just normally ride day by day. But I think it's going really well. I think for snowboarding specifically, it's a very small still. You know, we've got these like 360 kids on a race day, and only like 10 snowboarders showed up for the entire thing. So it was really easy it probably took longer to put the gates in than the actual laps for the snowboarders to have. But still, I think it's slowly growing. I think there definitely is a need that kids want to have a go at it for sure, and have the option to do it, because and the way you snowboard on a race course is slightly different than skiing, as we're kind of taking more of the outer side of it a bit more to really push through the gate to get more of a, hopefully when you do snowboard, then try and get that berm line in or that bank in, and kind of riding the bank a bit more, so taking more of the outer side than being fully in the gate. So it's kind of like using that, and then having the idea of like, hey, you're going across the slope a lot more. You're not just straight full lining it down as much. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we have some variations in terms of offsetting gates, but it's usually kind of just rhythmic and kind of standardized, which helps for us, but then it helps a lot of skiers who want to do beginner like gates as well. So there's kind of like a nice overlap in between. But yeah, it's kind of like a really nice idea just to kind of have a go at it, go and ski or snowboard and race, and do it somewhere that you're very close to. So like one of the domes, for example. And we tried that at Hemel for a couple of weeks, and we also did a couple in Chill Factor in Manchester. So, you know, hitting the north and south.
That's really cool. So you guys are on a two-man... mute button, sorry. So you guys are on like a two-man... You're on a mission to bring back GS snowboarding. Is that where we're going? We're going to go to like hard boots and my Max. We went. I think it was the end of season last year or the year before. Can't remember what we did. We went to Diablo, and he loves hunting through like Facebook Marketplace for crap. Right, other people's crap. In fact, and he leaves it all here. So we've got a cupboard full of it. There's a hard boot snowboard in there, and so we went to Diablo on this thing, and like, it just looked so hard what he was doing. I was like, "Why are you doing this?" You know, we were in this beautiful place, like perfect snow. You know, middle of April. It's just like, what? Why didn't you bring skis? You would have had a much better time.
I love hard boots. Because I've got one as well that's currently just by the side of my bed, and it is very much a BTEC version of a hard boot setup where the actual bindings are like clamps for ski boots.
Yeah. I'm going to go and get it in a minute and show you. It's a cool looking thing, but my God, like I wouldn't want to ride it. It looks dead.
No. But I would think every snowboarder should at least try hard boot once in their life, because you have to ride so differently.
Yeah.
Than you would on a traditional soft boot, for sure.
Yeah, it looks like it. When he disappeared off into this enormous like powder field on it, I was just like, you're going to die. Bad time. Bad things are going to happen to you. And yeah, he looked like he was struggling. It's definitely a pieced thing.
Yes, it is.
but yeah, he was doing some cool, like, you know, I guess the ultimate goal with like the hard boot snowboard, and this is a real tangent from GS racing, but like is like the Euro carve, isn't it? Like you want to get the full Euro carve experience. That's what that thing is for. You want to be laying like flat on the slope, you know. Absolutely.
You could definitely do it on it. It's harder for sure, because usually you're riding hard boot kind of boots or like actual ski boots, so it's harder to bend the ankle flex, I feel. So sometimes I actually find it harder to Eurocarb on a hard boot setup than on a normal snowboard. Because usually when you're doing Eurocarbs, you're trying to get low first on top of the snowboard and then set the edge in to really extend through. So with a hard boot, it can be quite harder to get that. But I love a hard boot. I think they're making a return, to be fair, especially in like last season in Canada. The amount of old boys seeing a hard boot and just riding around is sick. I think it's more of definitely see it more away internationally for sure. I don't like for hard boots as well. Like it's such a different way you should ride. Like the commitment of everything is different. The way you have to be is different. Because you're in that posi stance, you're way more open. You definitely, especially on your toe side, that one, if you ever feel like you want to feel like you're about to just fall off a cliff, like it's a heel to toe edge transition on a hard boot is something else. Like you're really having to push over and just trust that edge and to hope it just to take you where it needs to. If you don't, you're screwed. And it's very much a lot of work to get over that standpoint. But I think every snowboarder should at least try it. Not just the fact of the hard boot itself, but going back to the soft boots and finding that feel. Because once you're in the soft boots, the soft boots just feel like trainers afterwards. So it's just very much like, oh my God, I can feel so much more in my soft boot than I did in my hard boot. I think it's something a lot more people should try for sure, even if they absolutely hate it, for sure. Like
one of the things
Max,
I think,
and they're all the asymmetric, aren't they?
Go on. Sorry. Go on. What were you saying, Alec?
Oh, sorry. I was saying to Max, and they're all asymmetrical, or most hard boots can be asymmetrical as well, because it's so much harder to turn on the heel edge. Even with, I don't know if I've set it up, but my hard boot's now closer to Max, to where Max is than to where I am, because I've left it at home. But because you've got like no torsional flex on a hard boot, because it's just a stiff plank of wood, you can have your front foot like set at, for example, 18, but your back foot could be like set even more to like 30 or 21 with a heel riser. So you can like really throw your weight forward to start that rocker phase on a slalom board, to then steer it throughout the turn, which I found so clever.
Oh, wow.
You can like really, really get into in depth of what that is. And like, for example, the side cut that most hard boots use, which is a clothoid side cut, which I went on a whole rabbit hole trying to find out. It's just basically a really steep like a really steep radius at the start of the nose, and then it just progressively just sort of like shallows out to help with that ability to steer on a slalom board. And I remember you were saying about your Max, Dave, about hard boots, and that's how me and Max really got chatting.
Oh, yeah,
when I helped him out. Yeah, he was showing me all his hard boots, and we were really getting into it. And we were like, mate, we need to snowboard sometime and we need to go on hard boot setups again. I was like, I'd love to do that if I had a hard boot with me here, but they're heavy as hell to import over.
Have you seen his one?
Yeah.
This might be this is an amazing tangent. I'm going to go and see if I can find it. You hold on. Talk amongst yourself.
I'm going to get mine as well. It's like right here.
Get my one as well, Max, if you can. So you got two. You got two options. You've got left foot and right foot, which is the old Burton factory. Oh, and Max, you would totally love that they've got. There's like a whole sanctuary of hard boot setups in the shed in the shop that I work in New Zealand, which is brilliant. Love it.
It's got videos so he can change.
Yeah, look at that. Are they full tilts? Sorry, not full tilts. Are they FTs?
Where are we looking?
The bindings are the FTs. Your bindings, Matt.
This is an audio podcast,
sure.
right? So this is not going to work very well, but look at this bad boy.
There we go, yeah.
Huh? It looks like a guitar.
I love that.
Look at it. Look at this.
I can't hear you, Dave. But
oh, yeah, hang on.
That's...
Right, so I don't know what it's called. What is it? This is a Extreme Carbon Kevlar Dementia something. I don't know. 158. Look at it. I look like I'm in like a metal band, you know? Like it's so asymmetric. Like I look like I can play this. It's well cool. Oh, it's a knee decker. There you go.
Oh, no decker, yeah.
No decker, knee decker, yeah. What a thing. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. It was a bit... What have you got there, Max?
I've got an old Burton PJ.
Oh, yeah.
They're pretty cool. It's really old. And then my bindings aren't as cool as Max's.
Look at the bass. Look at the graphic and that. Like, I don't know, what are these? He's got like... I don't know. Face bindings, whatever they are. Wow, these are cool, aren't they? I've also seen all of those old boys like kicking around on the mountain doing retro fixed boot snowboarding. That is it's a movement. These things are definitely happening.
I think it's coming back as well. Quite. I think, a lot of them, like older generation, were riding hard boot as it was anyway. It was like such a big thing. And then once we transitioned to soft snow Mike's boots, that became a big thing. You know, a lot of freestyle came, but then there's a lot more people, especially snowboarding, that just don't want to freestyle. Like they want to just rip it on the mountain and just, enjoy that. So because there's a need of like this higher demand of people that want to do racing and turns and carving, that there's a lot more people going back to the posi style stance, you know, getting stiffer kind of boards to really cope with those kind of forces. So you see a lot of people now, especially the Japanese, they're like really loving it. Like they'll have like a set up pure soft boot, really noodly snowboards to do a load of like tricks and butters, and then you'll see them just have like an absolute demon of a snowboard. Genuinely, whether it's real hard boot or it's just like a real stiff soft boot, they'll have like it all in that kind of stance. And you know, you just see them ripping on the mountain and just like whacking these mad angles on the edges and just taking it through. And you're seeing that a lot coming back, especially. So I think hard boot is coming real back as a kind of like side snowboard thing. It definitely died down, but you're seeing a lot more people ride just because they love going fast and they love racing and they just love ripping it. And it's really cool to see. If you ever get to see those videos, Dave, I recommend looking them on Instagram or anything. And it's just these guys just laying it over and just like trying to get as low as their hips low as possible to the ground, essentially.
It's so cool. I also think there's another thing about like skiing and snowboarding have become fairly generic. So it's I would say it's a sort of extension of the movement of trying to be an individual, essentially. It's like, why wouldn't you go and do something different? You know, because you can just ski around the same resort. It's pretty easy to ski these days. It's pretty easy to snowboard, I would imagine, as well, like with the equipment that you guys have. And so why wouldn't you? You know, it probably explains the rise of telemark. It probably explains, you know, why people are going back to like fixed boot snowboards as well. It's just, you know, what's next? Blades. We've got to bring blades back. That's going to be the next thing.
I mean, cool shapes. Alec, you've rode them a couple of times in New Zealand. They make some funky snowboards. Like they've been doing a lot of like snowboards that are like a blade version of a snowboard, so really small. I know Rosignol used to do one, and Cool are bringing that back. And they've also got this really cool snowboard called the Nose Rider, which is just an absolute gimmick of a snowboard. But the whole point of it is that it has this channel system, that goes through this whole of the snowboard, and you can move your bindings on a whim in terms of the position of the snowboard. So you can basically, as you're riding through, you can lock yourself in, do a turn, and then once you get to a flat section, you can kind of twist slightly or how it works, because it's kind of like their own like little nibs, aren't they, Alec? And you can just move your actual bindings and actually go to the nose of the snowboard and come back. I'll have to show you the video, put it in a link. It's absolute mad. So you're seeing all these like snowboard companies now make different types of gimmicks of snowboarders, basically just kind of pushing it as much to see what can be done and what can be made. And that's throughout the snowboard kind of thing. You know, you see it in definitely just in the just general side, but you see it a lot in the adaptive side as well, and a lot of technology coming from the adaptive industries to get a lot more people into snowboard and trying snowboarding through like disabilities and all that, than just shoving them in a sit ski and whatever. So it's really cool in that sense.
That is cool. That is really cool. Let me. I'm coming towards the point where I'm going to be running out of time, but let me just ask you, how was the? There's two things I want to touch on just before we go. How was the New Zealand season, Alec? How was the snow?
To be honest, it seems like most other seasons the snow's falling back a little bit. So where you'd get really big dumps here, which would be in July, it was kind of like dry. Like July would be like the February of the Northern Hemisphere. And then it just stayed like that for a while. But still had pretty good snow and stuff. But it then just has been dumping. Like yesterday, it was the closing party of Remarks. It was their last day, and we just had a dump of snow. So it means great for touring season. I've already got my split board ready and rearing to set up and have a little go and do all the untouched powder and whatnot. But it's kind of been a bit weird with the season as it's sort of, there is definitely a difference there, like than it used to be. Snow doesn't even touch the Queenstown or the town anymore, where it used to back even in 10 years ago. But when we do have snow, even like it's sort of a joke in New Zealand that when it snows 1 centimetre, it's a powder day, which is always brilliant. But it means like, because everything's a bit icy and windy, kind of like Scotland, but a better version, you have to really like adjust your skiing and snowboarding to fit that, which I really, really liked, and it's proved my snowboarding amazingly. And it means I'm not going to moan about Port de Soleil ever again in my life when we have a bad day. So, the New Zealand season's been really good. I've learned a lot of stuff of going back onto my skis, especially this season, and trying new different skis was really, really fun to learn and to get back into. Even beat one of my mates who works with me in the snowboard workshop. He's French and he's going through the French system of instructing. Beat him in a slalom race, which was kind of fun, and he loved it.
Big time. Wow, we got to watch out for you. Excellent. And tell me, like before anything else, we should talk a little bit about the podcast. Like, how's it going? Like, are you still hard at it? Big list of guests like me.
Unfortunately, this year has been a write-off for us because we've had a lot of stuff to do. Life's play, as you know, Dave. We will resume back on it for sure. We've just had a lot of other stuff done. We do want to get back on it, and we do have people lined up that we will have on from different topics. And I think it's very much Alec being away and separate. It's been quite difficult to like time changes and all that, as you know. And then Alec, you're very busy. I'm very busy, so it's just trying to find time more than anything.
Yeah. Well, from a podcast kind of point of view, I mean, what I'm doing now, which seems to be the format of it, or seems to be how it's going, because I'm just so busy in the winter, just so busy, haven't got any time for any of it. So like I try to get as many interviews as I can done in the summer, and maybe this one will go out, I don't know, like in March or something. So like you have to stack them up and then produce them, because like, there is no time for me in the winter to go around and meet people or interview people, and everyone else is so busy as well. Like you catch them in the summer and they've got a bit more time to chat, but winter's a hard time to do all that, and like I say, life gets in the way sometimes of what you're trying to do, and it's not always easy.
Well, we've got a big list of all basically people who we're going to have on for the next for the episodes and stuff. I know we've sort of left it freaking plane. We're right next to an airport.
Can't hear it.
So I think me and Max have we have delayed it quite a lot because as you said, it's been life and stuff happens. But I'm definitely, it's never gone away. Like I've always wanted to go back into it, and especially with the few seasons and same with Max, that we've learned so much through the podcast and being out there. I feel like, listening back to our old episodes, there's like so much more questions that I've like, crap, why didn't I ask that? That would have been so much more interesting. Why did I miss that? But that's just come from like time to know that I'm asking the right questions, for example. But I think this summer I've got a lot of people that we're going to start chatting to. So a lot of NZ system for snowboarding. There's a lot on ski tech and snowboard tech that I really want to really dive into, because I think there's a big gap there for instructors that could learn, especially on the technical side of snowboarding, on repairs, on how bases, on the different materials used in snowboards and skis, as well as I think it's super important that when you're a snowboard instructor, you should know what equipment you should be on, and it's not just get a snowboard for the sake of getting a snowboard, but to actually like look at the tech specs in a snowboard and go, right, that's how the snowboard is designed. I'm going to ride it like this to get the full like picture of how it should ride and stuff. So yeah, stuff like that. I think there's more ideas of going beyond just speaking to people. So wanting to do videos about like different sort of stuff. I remember Max, you were saying about like different teaching tips and stuff that we can throw in. Maybe push, because like the associations don't really do it, but push the styles of teaching, or so for example, or like talk about Tide, for example, and just give that to the public in from Basie and how that's presented, so people can make their own decisions to make their snowboarding better. So it'll make people to become a better instructor overall, instead of like going through the system and having to find all the information on like a booklet or through a trainer. It'll be all on like a YouTube video, which should be pretty good. That's an idea. But what about you, Max? Anything to add?
In terms of what's happening, not really. No, I'm pretty much just like want to just speak to people that I can, who I find interesting. That's pretty much it. And we've got a couple of people lined up, and I think we've started to kind of expand our horizons with the podcast a bit and really focus more on just people in the sports in general, in the snow sports in general. Because snowboard instructing, really niche thing. We want to try and do some more that kind of relates to the snow sports world, snowboard world especially. I'd like to try and get like a photographer on as well, like just someone who does a ski photographer or a snowboard photographer, see what their kind of, their like what they want to do in life and how they perceive snowboarding and skiing. Even just previous people we've had on come back and see what they've done over the time as well. So yeah, it's just kind of hacking into that different style and different type of people than just necessarily just going down the one single point of just snowboard instructors, when it could be way bigger in scope and what we could, get out of those people.
Yeah, I think that's really valid, because, like I say, there's only so many ski instructors or snowboard instructors that you can interview, and it's something that I've definitely thought about a little bit more from my side, but I don't know how interesting that is to the audience. I suppose to a certain extent I don't really care, like I interview whoever I'm interested in, but yeah, that's definitely that's food for thought right there. It's an interesting thing. Cool. Let me take, well, where can people find you if they want to find you for whatever reason? Tell me.
So I can be found on Instagram, which is Max Power Lighting. It's from my film industry, but that's kind of where you can find me. We do have Snowboard Instructor socials, some Snowboard Instructor Podcast socials. I'm usually floating around in the UK in any of the games, helping Daisy, training, doing the bits and bobs, whether that's through or photography. And then I'll be out in Japan this season. So
nice.
Be good.
All right, very nice. What about you, Alec? Where can we find you if people want to get in touch with you?
Same thing, SnowBoard Podcast as well. I don't really know. Instagram, maybe.
Okay. You give me all the links later, and I'll drop them all in the podcast notes anyway.
Yeah, for people that normally want to get hold of me, just AlecJohn98. That's my Instagram.
Okay.
I'll respond to that. But otherwise, yeah, that's about it.
Perfect. All right. Well, listen. Thanks for taking the time to chat to me today. I really, really appreciate it. and wish you best of luck for the seasons to come. Well, Alec, are you coming back to the Port of Soleil, or are you going somewhere else? Oh no, you're staying in New Zealand, aren't you? You're having a summer
I'm
off.
staying for summer to figure out, basically explore New Zealand. So it'll be nice once I've got the opportunity. But like I said, I'm not done with Maldives today. I'm definitely going to be coming back because it's just a good resort. It's a great resort. So,
Mate, I remember fondly my time spent down in New Zealand, and it's a beautiful place. Like, it's just paradise, absolute paradise.
Yeah, I want to go and see Mordor. I haven't even seen Mordor yet. I need to go and see that.
One of the favourite places I ever went on Earth was, or I've ever visited on Earth, is Lake Tekapo. And that place is just wild. It's the most beautiful place I've ever been. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think that'll be good. So
Cool.
So exciting to.
It's nice to have a blank canvas to go and have a look around. Never know what you might find. Gents, thank you so much. Appreciate it.